If their blood didn't boil under the black suns of Nara, ours will make a fine substitute. The words echoed through the void, transmitted across light years in all directions, a grim promise from the captain of the human warship Vanguard. The crew, hardened men of steel and nerve, knew the weight of those words, though none flinched as they rang through the bulkheads. They had waited long for this moment, their chance to face the Draen, the scourge of the galaxy, and repay them for the atrocities they had committed. The Gyrans were a race of conquerors, their reach spanning dozens of star systems, leaving nothing but ruin in their wake. They were creatures born of shadow and fire, their massive war fleets unstoppable, their technology beyond comprehension. To most, empires crumbled before them, entire species driven to extinction or slavery. They had once been myth, a terror whispered about in the darkness of space, until they descended upon the galaxy with a fury unmatched in recorded history. But humanity was different. Humans had heard the stories, had watched as the Draen consumed their neighbors, growing ever closer to Earth's sector. They were not blind to the impending doom, but where others had begged for mercy or sought to hide, humanity had prepared. The Earth's resources were pulled, minds from every corner of the planet working in unison. They knew there would be no negotiations, no surrender, and no salvation from the stars. Only one truth remained. Survival would be on humanity's terms alone. The Vanguard had been forged in the crucible of desperation, a ship unlike any other in human history. It was a behemoth, built not just for war, but for the utter annihilation of anything that dared to threaten humanity. Armed with weapons that bent the fabric of space, shields that could withstand the heart of a star, and engines powered by the fury of 1,000 suns, it was humanity's answer to the Draen menace. And now it was humanity's spear pointed directly at the heart of the Draen Empire. "Captain, we're approaching the outer defense grid," reported Lieutenant Harris, his voice steady, betraying none of the tension that gripped the crew. Captain Marcus Locke nodded, his eyes fixed on the view screen that displayed the cold expanse of space ahead. The Draen defense grid was legendary, a web of automated battle stations, mines, and patrol ships that had shredded countless invaders long before they even saw the Draen homeworld. But the Vanguard was no ordinary ship, and Locke was no ordinary captain. "Initiate cloak," Locke ordered, his voice as cold as the void around them. The Vanguard shimmered and vanished from sight, the advanced stealth technology enveloping the ship in an imperceptible bubble to the Draen sensors. There was nothing there, just empty space, but the humans knew better. They knew that the Draen relied on their superior technology, their arrogance blinding them to the possibility of a threat that could bypass their defenses. "We're in position," Harris reported. "Deploy the spikes," Locke commanded. The Vanguard's hull opened in several places, and from within, sleek black projectiles were launched, each one embedding itself in the floating battle stations and patrol ships. These were not weapons in the traditional sense, but rather infiltration devices. Once attached, they began to burrow through Draen technology, hacking into systems, overriding controls, and turning the once deadly defense grid into a puppet of the Vanguard's will. "Spikes are active, Captain," said Harris. "We're in control of the grid." "Good," Locke said, a rare smile crossing his face. "Open fire." The Vanguard's weapons came to life, but not in the way the Draen would have expected. Instead of unleashing a barrage of missiles or energy blasts, the ship used the defense grid against itself. The battle stations turned on each other, firing at their allies. Patrol ships exploded in sudden, unprovoked attacks, and mines detonated in carefully calculated patterns, destroying the Draen defenses without a single shot fired from the Vanguard itself. The crew watched as the once impenetrable barrier crumbled before them. Yet, none of them relaxed. They knew this was only the beginning. The Draen would not sit idly by as their defenses were dismantled. They would strike back, and when they did, they would do so with the full force of their war machine. "Captain, incoming transmission from the Draen command," said Harris. Patch it through, Locke replied. The view screen flickered, and the visage of a Drayan warlord filled the screen. The creature was imposing, even by human standards, its body encased in dark segmented armor that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Its eyes burned with a cold fire, and its voice was a low growl that sent shivers down the spines of lesser men. Humans, the warlord spat, as if the word itself was poison. You dare to defy the Drayan Empire? You are nothing. Your pitiful world will burn, and your people will be enslaved. Their bones ground to dust beneath our feet. Locke's smile returned, colder than the void. You've had your turn, Drayan. Now it's ours. Before the warlord could respond, Locke gave the order. Fire. The vanguard unleashed its full arsenal, a symphony of destruction that reverberated through the blackness of space. Beams of energy tore through Drayan ships. Missiles found their marks with pinpoint precision, and the very fabric of space rippled as the vanguard's most powerful weapons came to life. The Drayan war fleet, which had once seemed invincible, was being torn apart, ship by ship, by a single human warship. The warlord's image flickered, then disappeared as his ship was obliterated by a blast from the vanguard's main cannon. The crew watched in silence, knowing that this was only the first step in a much larger battle. They were deep in Drayan territory now, and there would be no turning back. "Captain," said Harris, his voice breaking the silence. "Enemy reinforcements are inbound. Their main fleet is on the way." "Good," Locke said, his eyes burning with the same cold fire that had filled the Drayan warlords. "Let them come. We'll show them what it means to face humanity." The vanguard turned its prow toward the heart of the Drayan Empire, its engines flaring as it accelerated into the abyss. The crew braced themselves for what was to come, knowing that this was the moment they had trained for, the moment they had waited for their entire lives. As the stars streaked past them, Captain Locke gave the order that would seal the fate of the Drayan. Full speed ahead. The vanguard tore through the blackness of space, leaving behind a trail of destruction. The remnants of the Drayan defense grid floated aimlessly, lifeless in a drift, as the ship powered toward its next target, the Drayan homeworld. "Captain, we're detecting the Drayan main fleet on an intercept course," Lieutenant Harris reported, his fingers dancing over the console. "They'll be within range in 10 minutes. Captain Marcus Locke glanced at the tactical display, his expression unreadable. The Drayan fleet was massive, a true armada of death. Battleships the size of small moons, carriers bristling with fightercraft, cruisers armed with weapons that could decimate planets. It was a force designed to crush any opposition, a force that had done so countless times across the galaxy. But this time they faced something different. "Deploy the drones," Locke ordered, his voice calm. The Vanguard's hull opened once more, releasing a swarm of autonomous drones. These weren't the typical combat drones used in past conflicts. They were experimental, built specifically for this mission, each one equipped with advanced AI capable of learning and adapting in real time and loaded with the most advanced weaponry humanity had ever developed. The drones shot forward, disappearing from view as they engaged their cloaking devices. They moved with purpose, spreading out in a wide formation to intercept the incoming Drayan fleet. "We're in for a hell of a fight, Captain," said Commander Steele, the ship's second-in-command. He was a grizzled veteran, his face marked by the scars of countless battles. If anyone understood the stakes, it was Steele. Locke nodded, his gaze never leaving the tactical display. "Let them come. This is what we're here for." The minutes ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. The crew remained silent, the tension palpable, as they watched the blips on the screen draw closer. The Vanguard continued its relentless advance, showing no signs of hesitation. Finally, the Drayan fleet came into view. It was a sight to behold, an ocean of ships, each one more menacing than the last. They moved in perfect unison, a testament to the cold efficiency of the Drayan war machine. "All hands, prepare for battle," Locke commanded, his voice echoing through the ship's corridors. The crew responded instantly, every man taking his position, ready to do whatever was necessary to secure victory. The first shots were fired by the Draen, a barrage of energy beams and missiles that lit up the darkness. The Vanguard's shields flared as they absorbed the initial impact, but Locke knew this was just the beginning. Drones are engaging the enemy, Harris reported. The view screen split into multiple feeds, each one playing the perspective of a different drone. The AI-driven machines weaved through the Draen fleet, dodging enemy fire with precision and striking back with deadly accuracy. Explosions rippled through the Draen ranks as the drones targeted weak points, exploiting every vulnerability. But the Draen were no strangers to war. They quickly adapted, coordinating their fire to swat the drones out of the sky. For every drone that managed to take down a Draen ship, 2 more were destroyed in the process. Drone losses are mounting, Captain, Harris warned. That's fine, Locke replied, his tone measured. They've served their purpose. He pressed a button on his console, and the tactical display shifted to show the true nature of the drone assault. As the drones fell, they released a cloud of nanobots, microscopic machines that could infiltrate and disable enemy systems. The nanobots swarmed over the Draen ships, invisible to the naked eye, but deadly in their efficiency. Power grids failed, weapon systems malfunctioned, and communication lines went silent. The Draen fleet, once a synchronized instrument of destruction, was descending into chaos. Now it's our turn, Locke said, his eyes narrowing. The Vanguard surged forward, its engines pushing it to near relativistic speeds. The ship's weapons roared to life, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts and railgun rounds that tore through the crippled Draen ships. The main cannon fired a beam of pure destruction, slicing through the Draen flagship, cutting it in half in a single shot. The Draen tried to regroup to mount a counterattack, but it was too late. The nanobots had done their job too well, and the Vanguard was now in the midst of their formation, an unstoppable force tearing through their ranks. The enemy fleet is collapsing, Captain, Harris reported, a note of disbelief in his voice. Finish them, Locke ordered. The crew executed his command with ruthless efficiency. There was no mercy, no hesitation, only the cold, calculated destruction of an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for too long. The Vanguard's weapons continued to fire, cutting down ship after ship until there was nothing left but debris and the faint echoes of what had once been the Draen's greatest fleet. As the last Draen ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, the crew let out a collective breath. They had done it. Against all odds, they had destroyed the heart of the Draen war machine. But none of them celebrated. They knew the mission wasn't over, not yet. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command, Harris said, breaking the silence. Patch it through, Locke replied. The view screen flickered, and the image of Admiral Green appeared. Captain Locke, congratulations on your victory. The Draen fleet has been decimated. Earth is safe, thanks to you and the Vanguard. Locke nodded. This isn't over yet, Admiral. The Draen homeworld is still out there. If we don't finish this now, they'll come back stronger. The Admiral hesitated, then nodded. Understood. Proceed with your mission. Humanity is counting on you. The transmission ended, and Locke turned to his crew. Set a course for the Draen homeworld, he ordered. Let's finish this. The Vanguard powered forward, disappearing into the void as it sped toward its final destination. The crew knew what lay ahead, a battle unlike any they had faced before. But they were ready. They had come this far, and they would see this mission through to the end. As the stars stretched into lines around them, Captain Locke's words echoed through the ship, a final promise to their enemies, and a vow to humanity. We're coming for you,